a lot of our viewers are the same way. And, can the pros play them, right? Can these guys play these characters to a high level? Because a lot of times, I mean, like we'll point out, even when Wolverine was early days, everybody was like, oh, Wolverine's bad. But it turns out, when you give somebody, percent damage, it's pretty damn good long term.
Yeah, I think that's the dichotomy to releasing new heroes, is that sometimes we kind of fall into the trap where they're not performing, and then it turns out they're just absolutely nasty. We just didn't understand, right? As what we saw with Wolverine, we might see that with Daredevil. Another quick shout out about Daredevil. If you didn't see, it's actually really cool when you're playing that hero. Off in the distance, it's actually kind of like a shaded zone to kind of represent the fact that he is blind and uses his hearing to see. So really, really cool. Just little niche things that you see as we head into the banning stages of Game 1. I am stoked to see how these teams perform. And it's going to be Celestial Husk for domination here.
Yeah, headed to Celestial Husk. It seems like our curse from last week is back with little Krakoa, a lot of Celestial Husk. And immediately you see Intergalactic favoring that Jeff, protecting and banning in that first stage, because we saw last week with Envy, I mean, they played really well around Nero's Jeff. Makes sense to get rid of it, but on the opposite side, we have Mantis and Invisible Woman banned on Envy's roster to make sure that they can't play Invisible Woman on Intergalactic side if they do want to play a more peel-centric hero, and then also get the Mantis of their own while banning it out.
Yeah, for sure. And again, just to call out, it looks like Cal's going to be in instead of Tap again. And we saw Cal performing really well last week. Unfortunately, just wasn't enough to go against Fly, who just looked very, very strong. We're going to see the lock-in of Mantis, like you had mentioned. I mean, I think Mantis is incredibly strong right now. Not going to see much change there in the new patch, but Venom will be seeing a change with that healing reduction, 30% healing reduction on the ult. So even more, I have no doubt we're going to be seeing more of that banning symbol as this tournament proceeds and as that heads in, especially as we head towards, the finals there. I have no doubt we're going to be seeing Venom. And wow, look at that, locked in too from the side of Envy.
Yeah, keeping that Venom is important. Like you mentioned, Star-Lord banned on the side of Envy or of Intergalactic. And I think if we were watching back last week's matches right before we went live today, and we remembered, Dongman was mentioning how without Emma Frost, this team kind of struggled, right, in their series. But this time, they're prioritizing Captain America to go alongside with their dives because, on the opposite side, they already have a Venom banned out. You can't risk, I guess, another Vanguard in terms of a more divey one being banned out. But it is interesting they ban out the Torch and the Star-Lord this time around, leaving Adam Warlock available and maybe some other triple strategist compositions for Team Envy.
Yeah, I think Cap does a really good job of kind of filling that role as well. Has another quote-unquote strategist ultimate, where you can keep the team healthy and even do things like survive things like Storm when she's using that Omega Hurricane, things along those lines. So there's a ton of utility with Cap and can be very strong with animation cancel. And we heard yesterday, or actually, last week when we met up, that Dongman mentioned Blur was one of the best Caps as well. So looking forward to having eyes on that, and we do see a more traditional triple comp being run here on the lower side for Intergalactic. When they were showing the Loki, but it is going to be switched off as Hoffman goes to Luna.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I think that Loki has had his time in the limelight, is a mainstay, right, in previous patches. This one, not as much, but has been sort of a catalyst to some teams winning shit, like we saw last week. There was teams that, specifically FlyQuest, would make Loki look phenomenal, but that's obviously because they have, one of the best Lokis in the game in Cooper and, a lot of other, pretty much not Loki one tricks, but players that specialize in a lot of that hero. And I think this week, we're not going to see too much of that necessarily, just because of, like you mentioned, with Luna Snow being available, also triple Vanguard or triple Strategist being available. It's a little bit harder to, at points, make that Loki work. But at the moment, it's like we talked about, Adam Warlock left available for Envy, so they're going to play it. Also, that Envy was that Venom protected means that that's going to get played as well. So they're already playing around this, heavy dive composition, and still going to play that Emma Frost and give Speedery that bonus in terms of that team up with Mirrors.
And we will start now as Envy going to get those damage boosts out. Out goes Bond early here for Cal, just to keep the team moving forward. You can play very aggressive when that Bond is big like that, or it finds like 5 or 6 of your teammates. Remember, the more that you spread that Bond, the less damage it will do to all. So it's a good idea to try to do it near a stack. Doomed. Gonna find Cal. Blur already on the month though. 1-2. Just like that. Very early on. Cal should have res up though, but one will still go down as Flamme gonna find Kaluge. And Cal's back in it still though. Intergalactic in this first fight. Looking lights out. Hoffman with a 2-piece, who is going to be playing that Loki.
And I think it's all like what you mentioned, Shib, with Cal using that bond, and then once that's committed, you don't really have a lot of peel. And Intergalactic, knowing that, you know, sends in the invisible Loki towards the back line, which, by the way, it's one of their duelist players playing the Loki this time around in Hoffman. So I think that was kind of the catalyst, right? Once they use that soul bond, they go in with that dive, with the Doom, with the Blaster Barrage, and now they have ultimates available.
We'll start up again, and we see Speedery is going to be here on that Psylocke, and I'm sure we'll see far more Psylocke as this tournament moves towards the new patch for the next season of 4-5. We see Speedery now is going to be ready with that Dance of the Butterfly. Going to drop those crystals out quickly. That is a huge cooldown out as we immediately see that dance start. Blur going to find Cal in the mix, though. Will not have that res ready. Kaluj onto Hoffman to even the numbers. Up we go in the sky. Dongmin now with a Strange ready with the Eye of Agamotto. One thing you'll notice at this level of play is how quickly they get these ults. Everybody is holding on right now. Intergalactic still with the advantage on the point, and in terms of ults, looking unbelievable in these first two fights.
Yeah, these are some absolutely brutal fights, like you mentioned. I mean, Nero just now has built the fate of the worlds, right? It's been tough. He's been, you know, it's all about trading backlines. You're eventually able to get Hoffman, but it took so long because he's constantly teleporting, waiting to use those cooldowns. Now we're entering another fight. They at least don't have that Galactic Legend, but you're also going to be missing that Dance of the Butterflies.
Out we go with Eye, and it's huge on the back line, but we do have the Shroud all out as we're holding on here still with Mantis' Soul Resurgence. And there's another bond. The team going to press forward very aggressively while that's up. Out goes Jeff with the inch. And it's a three-piece onto the back line. Having one, there goes Cap right back. Heading towards the off-map. Should have the space to make it happen, as all three have no way to get back on the map. Flamay with a triple. Really well done for Intergalactic now at 86% and counting.
This is brutal. I mean, Cal hasn't even been able to use his passive either, has res available, but, you know, at least Intergalactic doesn't have ults. Kaluj goes for that portal. Flamay trying to cancel the portal with a boob, but unfortunately goes down to Cal, and that means Envy has an advantage in terms of a player advantage and also have ults, so this should be the fight for Envy to win, unless they were to get tracked down by Doomed or something crazy.
Yeah, just kind of a risky, but also could pay off play. And now going to be down a number and probably not commit too many ultimates here for Intergalactic. Going to hold on to Doomed as we see Monk find that pick there on Blur. Up a number. And as I say that, Doom says, no, Galactic Legend goes out. You can get this pretty quickly with the spin to win. Dongmin now onto Window. And there's that res from Cal, bringing the whole team back. They will start again. And if anyone falls, they will have that safety net as Cal walks forward to keep the team rezzed up. Speedery going to pull out some cooldowns there with Dance of Butterfly. Head back towards the team and reset once again. 99% as Envy very close to trying to get at least 1% on the clock here. Dongmin out with the Eye, does not find very many, if any. Fidel and Speedery trading, and it's still happening here as we keep moving forward.
Yeah, that pacing might have been a bit too fast for Dongmin. I think you could see what he was trying to do, but at least he'll have the portal to come back. Doomed also finds Speedery, and now they don't have the portal either, Shib, so Kaluj with that Eye of Agamotto won't even be in this fight. We're also sustaining with Intergalactic, and that Jeff, he's going to have that It's Jeff available too once Envy comes back and they get in grouped for Nero's ult.
I mean, this is insane. Another, we're going to see It's Jeff try to find value. Just find one. Is going to have the teammates going to try to play off their own pool there. Remember, there is a healing pool now as you go under. Wherever you go under with Jeff, and a huge Eye goes out for Kaluj this time. Does get matched right back as we see the dance floor go out. Damage boost tries to make it happen there for Intergalactic, but nobody falls on the side of Envy just yet. 400 HP in a Dream is Window now. Going to use all their cooldowns, and still Speedery going to find Fidel though and put them back up as Envy still has yet to cap the point. Doomed to the two-piece Blur. Gonna find Nero. Speedery onto Hoffman though. Number should still be up for Intergalactic here, but just barely, unless very dangerous spot here for Window, and out we go with another Galactic Legend. Immediately two go down, make that three, and that will be map one for Intergalactic.
What a map for Intergalactic. They looked amazing, but more importantly than anything, I feel like Envy in this Psylocke comp is not working, Shib. I'll be real. Like, it just feels like eventually they run out of cooldowns, right? The peel is fantastic from Envy's side, and, you know, unfortunately, Ultimate not able to get that much done, right? He goes in with that Dance of the Butterflies. It's then grouped up and patty-caked by the entire team, and at that point, yeah, Doomed going 19-0, prioritizing Star, make sure they can't play that hero, forcing them to play something else has worked out, has panned out. And also, you could tell, I mean, that unfortunately the Adam Warlock pick wasn't working either. I mean, every time they would go for that res, it was just not really resulting in much. And also, every time they would hit an Eye of Agamotto and Kaluj's side, didn't matter because Blur is there with the Freedom Charge. Fidel is there with the dance with the Fate of the Worlds. Hoffman's there with the Fate of the Worlds when he uses his ult. And at the moment, I think that Intergalactic is playing like a better team.
Yeah, I mean, Intergalactic looks lights out right now, at least on map 1. I do agree that this is a very good composition to have that Loki available, and going into a Warlock with something like Doom there on the Star-Lord, just farming ultimates, not afraid to press Q if there's a res, just because you can deal so much raw damage with Star-Lord, especially if you're coming out of a vulnerable position like that, unwilling to see what's happening in the fight as you're being res, and kind of just, it's very telegraphed as to where you'll be. So the team really capitalizing off that, and we will see a switch now as we have Month going to be on that Rocket. Nero is going to be on the Luna, and Cal on the Mantis now. A complete shift up in the back line. Similar comp outside of that as Kalush will be on that Emma and Window on the cap. Intergalactic, no changes. Why change anything that's working this strong? And they're very close to capping, but now Envy working their way towards.
I mean, he's got a cooldown, Speedery's side, but they do have that res on Month, like you mentioned, on the Rocket Raccoon, but he goes down. Oh no, to Doomed. The pressure too much, and guess who's here? It's a Jeff. Takes away. Oh, Speedery actually saves his player in his mouth, though, with that elimination of the Dance of Butterflies. That's a huge trade-off, at least.
Yeah, and a great cancel there, just to find that pick and escape when you know that you can't do much else after the fact. So well done again, as we see immediately Sonic Seduction, now looking towards Cap. Gonna find Dongmin with the Strange in the front line. Here goes that eye. Could it be big? It does land. Can they collapse on Cal, who's being healed for days? Not able to make that happen. Intergalactic now with a Freedom Charge. Another one of those ults that is keeping the team healthy. Window gonna be matching it right back as Month. Also, with that damage boost on Rocket, out goes the Sia, which we'll see a little buff coming up in this next patch of a 40% damage boost instead of 20, while still having that healing aspect. That's gonna be a giant change. Doom now again on the high side with the Galactic Legend. Window very low, but not enough. Great rotation there for Envy to stay healthy, and nobody has capped the point. But we see two more picks here for Envy.
Yep, that's some huge use of cover. I think that, if anybody can make the Psylocke work, it will be Speedery, just based on that. I mean, he was playing wall super well. Doomed had to come back to try to find him in the middle of the fight because of that Mantis ult, like you mentioned, that popped. And the dive between him and Window, who is now over to the Captain America, buying them some more time as well, because he's not able to find much on Venom, has been huge for the team. Also, Dance of Butterflies available in this upcoming fight. They're going to want to try to force out crystals, maybe set something up with Speedery.
And notice, folks, Speedery consistently has that damage boost from the Mantis. That's going to help with a little bit of a nerf she's had in this recent patch, as we are seeing now, just to try to negate that just a slight bit and bring back the Psylocke of old. So Speedery doing a good job, potentially just holding on to this ult for Flamay to see if the Itch Jeff gets belly. Window going to find Doomed early, and now Envy still holding on to the point, trying to make this a 1-1 map situation. Speedery on the high side, still holding on to that ult as discussed. Ult advantage here on the side of Intergalactic, but just barely as the dance floor here. The fate of both worlds should end, and out we go with that dance of the Cutterfly. Gonna find Fidel early. Dongmin gonna find Kalush. Blur, though, turns it back onto Cal, and Intergalactic should be up in numbers, but again, 60% on for here for Envy, and another ult from Flamay, which finds one.
I mean, can they even find this Jeff, right? No, it doesn't look like it. It's going to be... Oh, wait! It was at the very end! Somehow Window gets back on the map. That would have been huge if he found him. He has ult in the sec, too.
Yeah, using that dash on Cap is one of those ways to cancel it. You have to commit off map, or any of these cooldowns like Cap can immediately press that and fly right back before the momentum. It is just perfect. Just picture perfect frame moment of using that ability to not go in the downward momentum. So well done there to hold on for Window as Dongmin finds Kalush. Now Intergalactic is down heavy as Envy's at 90%, looking like the exact reverse of last map. Speedery finds another 2 down for the side of Intergalactic. Envy holding on here as Cal again pops up and just holds on to point into the Emma, which can be a threat, and a ton of damage goes out. Team's going to drop back together. Out goes the fate of both worlds, and they're walking at him now as Envy heads backwards, but Kalush going to teleport in to try to make this fight sustain.
Yeah, and it's as you mentioned, I think it's a reverse of last map, but it's on this man who went 19-0 in the previous round. Has to kind of stay alive. He's being focused. They obviously get the point now because of that Galactic Legend, but Doomed is going to have to turn it around now, because that last round, it was him, it was Blur popping off, doing so much work, and now at this time around, it's Window, it's Cal on the Mantis, who has changed things for Envy and is able to find this Star-Lord mid-fight. Right now, they did use that Fate of the Worlds. They also committed his ult, only relying on basically one shot at his ultimate with Hoffman, and maybe Flamay with that little pool of healing from him. Meanwhile, Envy could commit this Dance of the Butterflies whenever they want. Also have ults coming up soon.
And we will start once more. Blur going to take out Month now, and that's an early start again for Intergalactic. Envy just has to stay together and try not to overcommit alts, but they do decide it is the moment. As Speedery going to pop out with the Dance of Butterfly. Window going to take out Fidel. Now Envy evens the numbers. Here is a chance here. Again, another eat for the side of the It's Jeff on Flamme, who's going to the off angle. Cal's going to be the dangerous spot and likely go right off. There's no way back. And down goes Cal. Speedery going to find Hoffman in that mix. Both Mantises are out now. Dongmin onto Nero, as now again Intergalactic should be up, but the res comes through for Nero, who's right back in the fight, and that's that value of Rocket right now from the side of Envy.
It's definitely stalling the point out at least, but it's not in your favor at the moment because Intergalactic has had that objective for a while. You commit that freedom charge to try to go and find something from Envy's side, but they've still not been able to flip that point. Intergalactic still building charge. Eventually, Hoffman goes down because of that full dive, and Nero find Dongmin. That's huge as well because of Kaluj in that Sonic Seduction ship. Overtime takes down. No portal is here. I mean, you're going to try to stall it out for as long as possible, but really, overtime means that you're not going to get that portal play off, and we're tied up 1-1.
As we head over to map 3, folks, we have already a series on our hands here. Intergalactic looking really good. Envy, kind of the bear was poked, if you will, there, and looked much better there on map 2 than what we saw in 1. The change in composition clearly working out for them, and that is why they do what they do. Bounce back in these moments, as you see. So stats right now, Speedery, 12 finals, 21-4 is obscene. Dongmin, though, 20-3 and Doomed, 24-4. But again, final hits are the main play here, and again, Blur with 10 of them on that cap. The animation cancel on cap, for those who are wondering how the pros play cap at a level. This level, it's that animation cancel. Understanding how many autos you can get off with cap in a short window is obscene, especially on a vulnerable strategist, and that is the major play there with Blur on cap.
100%. You're right. Now we're all tied up 1-1 in a best out of 3 as well, by the way. So can't really make a lot of mistakes, right? You go down one map that's already map point for the other team, and they could close out, send you packing in the Ignite group stage, right? If you lose, you cannot make the playoffs anymore. And, you know, relying heavily on the Mantis has panned out so far for Envy. We'll see if it stays in their favor. You know, on Intergalactic side, they do have the Galactic Legend, but it can be met by Cal. We'll see how Doom plays this matchup because he's taking so much poke mid these fights from, you know, not only strategists, but also Speedery on the side of the Psylocke.
Yeah, and we'll start up early here. Presence very well known here for Intergalactic, who's holding point, but the high side being held by Envy. Out we go immediately with that Galactic Legend, which is matched right back by the Soul Resurgence. Ton of damage out, but it will not be enough. I spoke a little too soon as Hoffman takes out Speedery on the off angle that we did not get a huge look at. Doomed gonna spin to win with that Blaster Barrage, and already back at 10%, and this is why you see a ton of Star-Lord right now. It's all about getting that all as fast as humanly possible, deal a ton of damage, and then spin on top of the enemy to make sure you can do it again. And out we go. Flamme looking for a bite. Does find one, but it's matched right back with Speedery on the counter roll.
Yeah, usually we see that Namor sort of trying to play that counter, but at the moment, I mean, it's just that Psylocke ult. Also, this rocket has kept everybody healthy. Also, they have a better fate of the worlds, resulting in Hoffman getting picked and Fidel.
Nero going to start that fate of both worlds, keeping the team healthy on point again. Nobody has capped point just yet. We've seen long stalls here before. Will it happen again? And we will see a Psionic very soon here from Kaluj. Once these shields get out of the face. Oh, Psych, I lied. Not even waiting for the shield. Don't need it. Looking towards directly into the Loki and the Mantis, who will be walking, but low HP right back towards the team. Great positioning there by Kaluj to use that to head back towards your team. And Nero going to find Fidel. Window onto Hoffman, and now Envy up 2 numbers. And they will break that all from the side of Month. Goodbye to the Sia. And that should be everyone point to Envy.
Yeah, this is brutal right now. The pace of play by Envy has been phenomenal. Window constantly going for dives. He's finding pickoffs alongside Speedery. Also, both teams in the previous rounds have taken advantage of that Sonic Seduction. Not so much this time around. But regardless, Envy and Window has just been so good at going for these dives, creating a lot of pressure, resulting in Intergalactic having to change things up. They have now Fidel over to that Cloak and Dagger, maybe trying to hit a Terror Cape on him and peel. But right now, I mean, Window is doing so much, forcing off angles, and really just going for these dive setups for Envy and making the life of the backline miserable.
Yeah, and that is the goal here, right? Up we go again with Doomed, who's going to start that Galactic Legend, deal a ton of damage, and the Soul Resurgence immediately matched once more by Cal, doing a good job keeping on pace, and that is the whole plan here, to consistently make that counter happen. Blur going to find Nero, though, and Intergalactic now is up a number. Can they walk through? Hoffman going to commit and finish up that auto. Flamme is holding on to the It's Jeff, very low HP, going to drop back. Dongmin with the, unfortunately falls as soon as that Psionic Seduction is found. Kaluj going to take take out Doom. We lose another here for Intergalactic as Dongmin is still down. Out we go with Kaluja, the Psionic, looking right towards the backline. At this point, the team needs to fall together and reset, but Flamey almost gets an off map, but instead is just going to find that raw damage in a month and get a pick. But still, the team's got to reset here because 70% on for Envy.
Yeah, at the moment, I'm just so impressed with the uptime of Speedery, right? I think that he's been up in the backline of Intergalactic at all times. You know, people will talk about why is this guy so good at Psylocke? It's because he's not making mistakes, right? He's not over dashing. He's using him at the correct times, constantly putting in pressure and having high damage output. Now we're entering the last bit of the map, and Window already pops that Freedom Charge. Intergalactic have ults to match it, if not exceed it. We'll see what happens in the upcoming fight. Can they also find the BRB of month?
Yeah, really well done, as you'd mentioned here, by Speedery, who is just showing the raw talent. I mean, Psylocke still making it happen, and, you know, granted, that damage boost is helping a lot, but at this exact moment, it's not there. Going to commit with the team. Window going to find Hoffman with Speedery. Well done by Envy again. Now, we are in OT, and out goes the dance floor from Nero, still holding onto the Sia with a month, but 3 ults available here for the side of Intergalactic as they launch one with that Psionic Seduction from Dongmin. Blur going to commit. So is Doomed. Everybody pressing Q here for Intergalactic, who does not want to lose with a 3-piece here from Doom. Do I see 4 on the Kaluju's low? Yes, we do. Doomed with a Quadra, almost a Penta. Well done on the retake, but 99% and Envy up in ults here with Cal and Speedery ready.
Right? It is interesting. Hoffman's also been forced over to playing the Rocket Raccoon to try to live from these dives, right? Having those 2 dashes that we always mentioned. Unfortunately, Month committing that see you later. I think thought, you know, maybe they could come back into that fight, but the tough part about that ultimate is it takes a little bit to tick up the over health, right? The bonus health given from that ultimate. It's not as fast as some other, you know, Fate of the World, some other healing ultimates, but they go in fast now, early aggression, and they already find Fidel.
I mean, that is just obscene. That was some really good focus there. Immediately goodbye to Fidel, who does get res right back. Why not make it happen again as Fidel falls again, this time to Cal, who waited for that res potentially. Out we go now with the Dance of the Butterfly. This one is not going to find too much value. It's going to be a little bit more of a zoning position right now. Intergalactic still holding on to the point, though, as we see the Psionic now from Kaluj, who is going to try to get a few walking and is going to find 2 heading towards point, breaking that Sia, the Cosmic Yarn Amplifier. It's still holding on with like 1 HP. And out we go now. We see Cap start up with a Freedom Charge. Flamey goes under. Will this get value onto the back line? Waiting and not able to find anyone. Unfortunately there for Flamey. Great positioning and movement by Envy, who is back on the point as Fidel falls from Window. Are they going to close it out? Kaluj on a Dongmin. Do we see a third here on the Blur, who is looking very low? Or will they be able to get back to this point and reset? Great healing on the off angle, but no, goodbye to Blur. And we do see another fall from Hoffman. And at this point, Envy's an OT ticking down, and the portal comes through.
And Portal coming out, but Jeff tries to go in touch too. Flamey going down. And I was going to say, I think Jeff needs to find something to make it worth protecting and banning, because at the current moment, it's being countered so heavy by Envy, who has ultimates as well. Dongmin has Sonic Seduction. You have to use greens to break out, though, on the side of Intergalactic. We'll see what happens after this, as a See You Later committed by Month here to give them some extra damage on the side of Envy.
Yeah, it's one of those cooldowns that are very huge out of a portal, using those crystals like that to keep the team healthy. As we started with Galactic Legend from Doom on the high side is being prepared. Out it goes. We see the Dance of the Butterfly. The team is trying to patty cake back and forth, but Speedery gets a 2-piece window onto Hoffman, and they're in a very dangerous position now. Doom finds 1, but it likely will not be enough as Intergalactic falls and Envy takes map 1.
Wow, what a map from Envy to come back from, too, considering how poor the first round went. They also, it's very interesting because they actually never switch off this Psylocke composition. It feels like they just try to make it work no matter what. And the changes going over to Rocket Raccoon of all things, Shib, and then also, you know, going over to Mantis seemed to pan out for them alongside the Captain America. Yeah, well-deserved MVP. That was the change, because Venom on round number 1 was kind of struggling, honestly, and then they change up that character, go over to Captain America, give themselves more sustain, and not only that, but find these first pickoffs so consistently and really separating the backline of Intergalactic, who looked honestly miserable with this Jeff comp, oddly enough.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And also the Star-Lord shout-out, I think a lot of this was driven by the fact that Doomed was just finding so much success with these Galactic Legends, and you know, they had to switch over. Window had to switch over to Cap just to find another answer if there was an ult available for Doom, who had 14 finals there. But then you look over, and Window was 17 finals, 22 from Speedery. Just an obscene display. I mean, Blur looking really good with 14. Obviously switching over on the strat line at the end there from the portal from Fidel. But I mean, just very much a back and forth battle here. Envy, again, in a situation where the bear was poked and they really started to pop off. But Intergalactic, in this first map, they showed why they are such a strong team and that they can very much turn this back in their favor if it works out for them in terms of the banning stage. It seems like this was a good, ban phase for them. I think they looked really good out there.
Yeah, well, it did, exactly. And the thing is, really, Envy had just changed up their composition to play counter Jeff. Like, it was like Flame could not get a single ultimate after round number 1. And it's because, yeah, I mean, like, he's against the Luna Snow, he's against the Mantis, he's also in the previous round, huge Tri-Pipe Monthus lived there, but again, it was only 1 in that case because of the super mobile backline they're playing, Chib. Like, they're playing the Mantis, they're playing the Rocket, they're splitting to those ultimates, also speedily sometimes countering the Jeff ult. There were so many things done by Envy there, and it kind of countered the first original idea of ban and protect Jeff. Unfortunately, for the side of Intergalactic, that kind of ruins your ban phase entirely if they can just figure out how to counter you.
Yeah, I think it was more so a learning effort from them on map 1, right? Or, on that first location, they struggled heavy into that comp, and it was very much, back and forth, but I would say it was back and forth, but it's very much led there by Intergalactic. And then from map 2 on, it was a trade fest, seemingly always going on top of the side of Envy's window here with that MVP. You see 35 KOs with 17 finals. Again, on a Vanguard is awesome to see. Speedery obviously with 22, but 17 on a Vanguard, especially Cap of all things. And, as you're climbing ladder, you hear all the time things along the lines of Cap is so weak, he can't get finals. I beg to differ. Come watch some of these players play, like Window right here.
Yeah, he's gotten some nerfs over the past couple patches, but it doesn't even really matter because that character, can be so disruptive, do so much damage. And once we look at these highlights, you'll see that, on the opposite side for Intergalactic, they had Dongmin doing so much on that Emma Frost. You saw 37,000 damage. I think it was the most in the lobby. But, how do you really hard carry your team on Emma Frost when your backline's constantly going down and getting KO'd? It was so tough for them to stay alive, Shib, the backline of Intergalactic. And, I think that stems from that sort of Jeff comp, right? In playing Rocket Raccoon early has allowed them on Envy's side to constantly peel and just live. But we're going to go to map number 2 in just a bit. After this short break, we'll see you guys in just a bit.
Welcome back, as we just saw Envy take their first map here so far against Intergalactic, but Intergalactic again looked really good, especially on point 1 there of domination. They dominated. It was like 100 to a very little percent, if any. Obviously the next 2 were difficult for them, but it was definitely a battle, and they have what it takes. It's just a matter of if they can clutch up as they're ahead, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the thing I was setting up before this was it's going to be tough to say goodbye to one of these teams because Intergalactic is a good team. It's unfortunate that, the path they've had, and also I know that, they've sort of had a difficult journey, I think, throughout this entire tournament this time around. That always kind of happens, though, right? It's no matter which path you have to take, you're going to have to beat good teams. And at the moment, they just happen to be against one of the best teams who got sent down to the loser brackets because of FlyQuest. So it's, as you mentioned, Chib, Intergalactic look good, but are they good enough to come back and figure out the ban phase? Because it's only a best out of 3, and Envy, if they were to win this one, secure themselves into the playoffs.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure exactly what's going to be selected here, folks. Just remember, again, Intergalactic is going to be selecting the mode and map, so this one will be in their favor. We've seen some success from them in the past on their map twos when they are down. It's a question of can they do that once again, and it gets tricky here because teams are doing their homework. They're understanding which maps teams like to select, and there's no doubt in my mind they're scrimming heavily on the maps that are more commonly selected by whoever they're going against when they are down in that moment. So we see here a double Emma ban off the rip.
Yeah, that character was a bit of a problem for both teams after that last map, right? I think we saw that specifically on a Convoy and Convergence. I mean, having the best anchor in the game in terms of Vanguards, getting rid of it makes sense, Shib, right? I think that removing the Diamond, I gotta watch my language here, Diamond Mother band is a good idea, I think, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she is a threat. She really does bully Vanguards. I think she can take over the front line of a game, but again, it's that situation last time that we saw there for the side of Intergalactic would do really well done there on the Emma, but it just wasn't enough to progress your team forward. So can't absolutely run the lobby, but does do a good job bullying those Vanguards. This is looking a little bit more like last set here, stage 1, as we see a lock-in of Magneto and holding on to the Strange, right? So Vanguard's back heavily into the front line of these bands here.
Yeah, they're thinking about, you know, that you can play triple Vanguard, like you said, exactly. Triple Vanguard, triple Strategist. They're thinking about also getting back to the cart, right, with that Doctor Strange that you pointed out. And there's a lot of things that you could think of that both teams, you know, are thinking about early, right? And that does leave these strategists open at the moment, and except that Adam Warlock on the Intergalactic side until now. Envy bans it out as well, and then Mantis for Intergalactic as well. So focusing mainly on those strategists again and protecting it as well, because Envy deviated, changed it up, go for that Adam Warlock ban alongside the Vanguards that they have banned so far.
And I just wanted to quickly discuss with you, you know, we talk about triple the Vanguard and Strategists, and there's a lot of answers to that with things like the damage boost Moon Knight, but you got to show love to Speeder. You know, running things like the Storm or potentially banning things like the Storm, which does do a good job into those triple comps, is a unique and potentially effective strategy. But when you have someone as strong at Storm as Speedery, who's in the conversation for the very best Storm, maybe that becomes more of an idea that you want to select as a team. So I think it gets more and more meta with these bans, as now obviously you see them banning out these strategists and Vanguards due to the nature of the triple hold, but then it's now, do we want to start banning the solution to triple and see if we can really hold them 0.1? There's so much to this game, and that's why I do not envy the coaches. It's got to be so difficult to make decisions in these moments.
Absolutely, you're right. The ban phase is crucial, and it's as you said, Shib. I think, you know, these triple comps you have to think about, triple Vanguard, triple Strategist comps, and then also what are they going to change into, right? Because they're not going to play triple Strategist, triple Vanguard the whole time. But a lot of your momentum, oddly enough, is built on that defense, and that's why teams are willing to play it. So, yeah, it makes sense. Starting over to defense, I think, is sort of an advantage for Intergalactic, at least in terms of, you know, can they build up that sort of triple Vanguard, triple Strategist game plan? You know, obviously, they're thinking about it, trying to keep that Doctor Strange available, but also when you play that triple Vanguard, triple Strategist comp, I actually don't think we see a lot of Mantis alongside it. That's the interesting part, Shib. So they protected a hero that probably won't be seen until later. It's sort of like a stash pick for them, I think. Because, yeah, first point, when you play the Rocket, you play the Loki, you play Luna usually, and then you switch up to those triple strategists with the Mantis and stuff. So I'm interested to see how this goes, or it's just not even played on defense and it's played on attack. Meanwhile, for Envy, I feel like they're the kings of this triple Vanguard, triple strategist comp. Yeah. They're one of the best teams at it. So I don't know. They're one of the best. And it's like you said, we're playing Storm at dismantling it. So we'll have to see, man. It is an interesting discussion. And I don't know. What's your take on it? Like, what do you think is the overall real strategy? Is it banning out triple Vanguard, or is it also maybe focusing on later stages of the map?
No, I think that's a great call. And honestly, I'm not sure that I have the answer. I like what you're saying there about the Mantis. You're absolutely right. There's no shot. I said
wait, they are playing it.
But there is the Mantis.
Yeah.
The Ultron boost is why they're going to stick to the Ultron on the hold, and they are actually not going to be running the triple Vanguard composition due to the nature of Envy, banning out a ton of those Vanguards likely. So yes, that is going to be the commit, but I do agree. That is a good call out there. It's a tough thing to answer whether that is the right strategy to try to build for a later game and, you know, maybe not fully commit into this triple, which is rarely held after point one. It's usually dropped instantaneously, but you mentioned Envy being one of the founders and one of the strongest at triple. I believe they were one of the first teams to even do it here in Ignite Stage 1. So a very, very strong contender in that triple comp, and Envy don't even need to have the solution. Instead, they're running a more traditional composition with Speedery here on the Torch, which is that's a nightmare. And personally, seeing Speedery on Torch is terrifying. He is absolutely disgusting on that hero.
Yeah, it's always going to be a worry giving him that hero. Also, card space given up right now because they're not playing that triple Vanguard, triple strat, wanting to fight this first corner. But I think it's, as you mentioned, Chib, where trying to counter specifically Envy style isn't really working at the current moment because Envy put already on that pressure that they can counter that triple Vanguard, triple strat as calm.
And they're running a composition that allows for heavy focus there on Speedery while Cal plays a mean Bucky. Oh, good utilization there to eat the strangling prison with that Meteor M by Dongman. Great read. Really well done as Doom's going to find Month and put them up a number now. Intergalactic on this hold is looking different in and out. Goes the dance floor walking forward with the fate of both worlds. Speedery trying to get into Fidel's back line, but no, they are going to drop back together and retake. And still, Envy's holding pressure, even being down a number with that dance floor. But that's a huge, Galactic Legend, which does find one with the help of Kaluge, or excuse me, it's matched right back as Blur falls there. Surprised to see that.
Yeah, oddly enough, the peel has been so good, even though they're not playing triple Vanguard, triple strategist, or sorry, rather triple strategist on the side of Envy. They're able to stay alive, peel back around Kaluge's shield, play around that Doctor Strange heavy, and it's panning out right now as they're close to the very end. And like you said, it's always a worry giving Speedery his, coveted torch.
Yeah, what I wanted to follow up on is Bucky is one of those heroes that can do a good job with self-sustain just due to the nature of the additional health on every cooldown. So the strategists don't need to focus you nearly as much, and you can do things like this. We can play aggro and use cooldowns to escape, but no, that's not going to last very long as Dongman going to find that pick on Cal, who just committed with that all.
Did he just eat another Brutal? Okay, Dongman is having like the game of his life right now. Genuinely, one of the best Vanguard performances. He's putting the team on his damn back right now, Shib. If Intergalactic were to win this series, this man needs to get the biggest bag in the damn world because Dongman, map 1 was popping off, most damage in the game. Now round number 2, eating every strangling prison so far with the Meteor M and his shift.
Yeah, put a shield in his hands. That's just the way. Dongman is disgusting with Strange and disgusting with Mag. Always has been and always will be. It seems like Blur now going to be coming back with the Venom selection. Dongman obviously still going to have that shield up. We walk in as Hoffman drops the Rage of Ultron. Fidel going to keep up with the dance floor. Blur very low. Doom going to fall here from Cal, who makes that switch over to meet up with the Star-Lord. We see Peter Quill v. Peter Quill. Up we go. Heavy damage here onto the back line of Ultron, who's still holding on. Window going to find Flamay. Window with an early pick, but Month going to fall up onto Hoffman. Cal now onto Dongman, and Envy gets point 1.
I think this is going to be a good testament to see, can they run this 2-2-2 composition, right? Can Team Envy play it traditionally versus a somewhat, some would call an unethical composition with triple Vanguard, or sorry, triple strategist on the side of Intergalactic. At the moment, it's looking good, right? They have to play perfect on the side of Cal, on the side of Speedery, because like you said, Hoffman has that snowflake on him the whole time and just has infinite healing. So they really just have to do an immense amount of damage on the side of Envy. And at the moment, they're doing it, but 2 minutes and 45 seconds. Intergalactic, I imagine, are going to take that for now if they can win a fight here, especially with that Meteor M, now that it's up for Dongman.
Yeah, I will say we've seen teams in the past make the mistake of allowing Speedery to have this torch, but rarely do we see the double pocket allowed through with the torch, and that is the problem right now. There's so much pocket potential onto Speedery up in the sky as the team does find that early pick. Walking backwards now as Flamay going to keep that ult up, try to make sure that Soul Resurgence gets value. Doom going to commit with the Galactic Legend, looking at, unfortunately, Johnny, who does escape there. Good idea, just not going to work out, and there is a throw from Dongman, does not land. Window going to take out Flamay. Speedery onto Hoffman, and again Envy is coming through with a couple picks still up as Intergalactic is forced to use these strategy assaults just to buy some time.
And they cap the car too, so they can stall it out, and it looks like nobody's portaling. We're only going for that, Jeff boost. So these members, they're going to go down, Shib. And at the moment, I don't know what it is, but Blur has to slow it down. He keeps getting picked off in the middle of these fights. He has that snowflake on him, but it's not enough. Like, it feels like he's not used to the amount of damage, oddly enough, that the traditional 2-2-2 comp is outputting right now, Shib, because he'll go in and he'll be like, okay, normally against triple strategist comp, I will live here. But no, you're against the Torch, you're against that Star-Lord, you're against the Luna Snow, Doctor Strange, Venom. He keeps dying in the middle of these fights, and he really has to stop feeding.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. We've seen a few switches there from Blur, who obviously is a very strong Vanguard in his own right. Unfortunately, trying to find out something that could work into this comp, but it's very tricky going into something like this in the sky with so much torch pocket and space being taken here. Trying to get onto the backline who kind of have free reign with just the raw damage output from Speedery protecting the backline just due to the nature of all these cooldowns, just losing HP, all these shields, just getting their entire HP bars getting deleted. Blur going to try to make a play onto the backline, forcing out that cap all, going to make a ton of space. Month falls there as Doom gets gets one blur. Gonna take out Nero. The footing has been found as Hoffman now drops window, trying to get Speedery, who heads right back and still holding on. But Alt advantage is going to be roughly spread even in this next fight. We're going to see, oh, just kidding, Envy should have 5 in this next fight, and we'll see almost 4 from Intergalactic.
And they had that Avagamora ready to go. Dongman, who was the one that switched off that Magneto, is available, but he's going to be against that invisible woman who can constantly push him out, make sure he can't set that up. Obviously, Kaluj is well aware of that game. But in the sky, here's Speedily, also met by Doomed with Intergalactic.
Yeah, and here we go once more. Speedery again dealing a ton of damage. Month gonna follow up and use that invisible boundary. And there's the follow-up from Kaluj with the eye. That does unfortunately not land. Looks like they're walking right back. Good shield utilization. Match right back by Dongmin. This one does find a few. Can they get a pick? They do not. Forcing out the dance floor. Gonna lose Dongmin now as Month gets one. Cal gonna commit with the Galactic Legend, dealing some damage, but not enough through Jeff, who is making the team hold on there. Again, Flamé gonna be on the Jeff, finds a 2-piece. Gonna try to get some picks. Unfortunately, not able to do so. Cal gonna try to drop back with the team, but Hoffman gets that pick now with the damage boosted Ultron, which is a huge threat in its own right.
Yeah, I don't think Blur's going to live here, but you know what? At least he's stalling out the cart. Also, Hoffman's able to kind of come online, like you mentioned, with that pickoff. Also, Speedery eventually gets that pocket. Almost falls, but luckily for him, gets that Invisible Woman shield. Also has constant healing from his Strategist line, who are outputting so much good healing. 55 seconds left to go. I think Envy has already made it further than they expected, because this is a pretty fast pace now, considering how much time they had left in the second phase.
Yeah, I'm curious to ask them on their take on 222. Is it just a Midtown thing, or is this something that's working into these triple comps if need be? Fidel gonna find a 2-piece here on a window, and Speedery, really well done there by Fidel. Doomed gonna drop Cal, and they still are holding on. 30 seconds on the clock now. Can they hold point 3? It's looking like they have the potential to keep it this close and make this a potential win opportunity for them. Doom gonna take out Kaluj pretty late in that fight, and that is huge to drop the Strange, who may have a portal play, and now we'll have very little time, only 17 seconds to make this happen, which is enough time to get the portal out, but it's all about now, can they take this space and stop it as we go in with the Jeff, which could be huge. Finding a few, gonna go through the portal. It's gonna get some teammates, still gonna be able to find one here on the side of Month. Gonna throw Month into a corner and try to deal enough damage. Will it be able to happen? Great movement by Month. Does the pick come through? It doesn't look like it does. It does finally. Flamé gonna get that pick now. Numbers up for the side of Intergalactic. Out goes the Rage of Ultron. Out goes a double Avagamora. Kaluj, though, is just a little bit better in that moment. Finds one. Dongmin gonna get the pick before, though. And this is such a battle here back and forth.
Yeah, Mantis Ult sustains Intergalactic on the point. No more portal is available. And with the overwhelming damage of this at this point, right, Speederly not going to come up in here with that Supernova. Going to get sent back to spawn is Envy, but that's still quite far that they got, Shib. I mean, 126 meters is not a small amount, considering we see teams get stopped in the second phase of this map. So for Intergalactic, they're going to have to figure out their offense, because Envy, we already know, Shib, what they're planning to do. More than likely, it's that triple Vanguard, triple Strategist composition. But obviously, it's going to be up to how Intergalactic play against it. Can they counter that composition? We'll have to find out. I mean, this is going to be a super fun end of the series, because Envy, I mean, that was still a pretty great push with a traditional 2-2-2 comp ship. That was impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I have no doubt we're going to see the triple comp right now. Kaluj is floating the Thor. Not sure if that's going to stay around, but would be the first time we've seen it, I believe, here in the Americas region. Window is going to be showcasing the Thing, but that will switch likely to Groot, as we see the Groot change there now. Kaluj is going to be on the Thing instead. Thing is pretty good into these triple compositions, just into the nature of the 25% damage reduction on the E's and F's. So your F cooldown is the new cooldown where you can actually dive towards an enemy and then try to throw a haymaker in there to make something happen and even knock enemies out of the sky, including Hoffman there on that Ultron. But the damage reduction on an ally is very useful on your Vanguards, and just allowing those strategists to farm ults off, as they are going to be running that comp we suggested, or we assumed, excuse me.
And I like that Envy's willing to change things up, right? I think previously would have seen them play that, you know, Jeff or something along those lines. But now they're going to play it on the defense, obviously, or on the on the defense for them. But regardless, I think it's interesting that they're, you know, changing things up, mixing it up a little bit. Dongman's now over to that Rocket Raccoon for, or sorry, not Dongman. Cal is over to the Rocket Raccoon for Envy on that defense. Dongman's obviously under the Doctor Strange. Intergalactic's counter to this sort of comp is just a hard dive for this backline.
Yeah, it looks like it. I'm surprised. It's the first time we've seen this much aggression, and it's working. And Dongman gets a 2-piece onto the backline strategist here. Well done by Dongman on Intergalactic to find those picks out of Envy. And now they're up. This is the first time we've seen a comp like this seemingly work, but Window gonna find Blur, evening the numbers a bit, and it's not over yet, folks, on this attack early on, but Flamay and Hoffman are now gonna get a pick, and now it's looking in the favor of Intergalactic. This may be the very first time we've seen a more traditional composition walk out here instead of using something like that Storm damage boost onto something like Punisher or even Moon Knight.
Well, the tape was on Envy last week. We saw what they did on Aegis Path. They send Kaluj back to Peel. Oh, wow. A really fast portal, though, because they died so fast. Here they come back into that point, not even getting much further. We could potentially see 4 fights here if they get wiped here, Ship.
Yeah, I think that is exactly what we're going to see. So that is big brain play here by Envy, using that portal very early like that to hold him essentially before the first bend even happens. Out we go with the clobbering time. This is going to be followed up as Dongman's very low. Hoffman going to get the pick on a Cal, though. Kaluj takes out Fidel. 2 down for the side of Envy as Speedery gets a pick now onto Dongman and matches it right back. And we do see the It's Jeff Doom going to take out Window. So many Qs being committed. It's all about who gets the most value. Jeff goes down. Oh! Out of the sky! Speedery with a nice pick there on the Vanguard now. Making fun of Flamay. That was disgusting.
Usually we see that sort of shot come as like a last prayer as they eventually get wiped anyways. That was beautiful, dude. What a shot.
I love moments like that. Well done again. Out we go with the eye. We do see that bubble by Mag keeping the team up, but they are very low as we lose Speedery now. Hoffman with a nice pick there again. They need to get through this first point. The point has barely moved here since that portal. 2 minutes on is enough time to keep it going, but this is almost a guaranteed 4-fight situation now. Hoffman going to find Window. The res could be up. I don't believe it is for Rocket. And it is not. Flamay going to take out Kaluj now, and the numbers are dwindling here for Envy as Intergalactic is keeping this moving. Make it 2 more, and Cal and Month fall from Hoffman and Dongman, and they will progress forward. But again, like we had mentioned, I would expect 2 more fights, 1 by ambulance and 1 at the end.
Yeah, it's going to be a close call for sure. At least Envy gives themselves a long runway, a long stretch here to work with. Because, yeah, it's so annoying to play against this. Envy also have ultimates upcoming. Hoffman pops his Ultron's Rage early, trying to force something out of Envy. But they're playing slow at the moment. Here comes an It's Jeff from Nero.
Yeah, Nero going to hold on and try to find the front line. Is going to find Ryan. Going to drop back towards the team. It almost gets deleted there by Galactic Legend. Going to just try to displace and buy as much time as possible to help with the fight. Cal going to re-res Kaluj now back in the fight after that pick. So still holding on to their numbers as Kaluj has the... Ooh, clobbering time goes out. Not sure how much value it found. For those who don't know, you can actually jump with Strange Shield and actually negate the clobbering time, which we actually just saw there. So big play by Dongman once more to stay out of that stun and stay healthy. But after saying that, Blur finds one. Another goes down there as Month falls for Envy. And they are still going to... What? Intergalactic is going to get this first point. Really well done in a composition we have never seen against Triple.
Well, it was so interesting because Nero ate Dongman, canceled out that Ayavagomoto, but after coming out of the Jeff's mouth, just immediately got an elimination. So I don't know. I mean, Blur was playing well. Obviously, he had some huge dives on Venom, like you mentioned, and then the team has a follow-up, but still Dongman, I don't even know how he found that pick. That's huge. Now they have ultimate advantage against Envy, who are desperately trying to find something out because that was a rough first point. You kind of didn't really even win the fights that you needed to win, even with some heroic plays from that triple Vanguard, triple Shadows comp. So they play swap Speedery now over to that Psylocke alongside this front line of Window and Kaluj.
Yeah, I think the goal here is to make sure they shut down Flamay's It's Jeff once more, and then obviously Speedery just getting ults off cooldown incredibly quickly. Doomed being absolutely disgusting here on the Star-Lord. Cal gonna res back Speedery. Numbers are evened out. Envy gonna be up and up, but we do see the commitment from Month. Out goes the eye from Dongman. Does this one land? It does, but do they get value? They do not. And here comes the It's Jeff waiting on the back line, gonna try to find Invis. It does find 2 here. Actually, Nero finds 2 on the side of Envy, trying to drop out and find an off-map location, which they are close to, but Star-Lord should be able to get back on map. Off goes Fidel. Star-Lord gonna chase here as Doom dealing a ton of damage. Nero doing a great job following up after for even more damage. Nice pick there by Nero with a right and left follow-up. Window onto Dongman, Speedery onto Doomed, and Envy holds on.
Yeah, that was a huge ult from Nero, and Month as well, dodging back, right? Committing that ultimate, assuming he's as he's 1 HP, watching his health pool go down, dwindle, and popping into the perfect time. Then against that, it's Jeff on the opposite side, goes invisible, ducks around a corner, and dodges that ult, forcing Intergalactic to switch off that comp, to going out over to Mantis, getting off of that Jeff. putting him on to that hero. That should give them a bit more damage. But here's Doom having used Intergalactic, or Galactic Legend rather, against Envy, who doesn't save Nero, oddly enough.
And we do see that Galactic Legend heavy Nero falls. Like you had mentioned, team is going to drop back together and just bide time. A minute on the clock here for Intergalactic now. So they are starting to think the pressure is on. They are nervous, no doubt. This could be their entire press here on stage 2 on the line. They've got to make things happen. But this is where you start playing a little bit slow and on your heels, and that can put you down. Spin to win out. We go with Doom. Gets canceled out as Speedery finds Fidel early on. Out goes the Iwagamoto, and it could be huge like Dongmin. They find Speedery. Monk's going to take out Flamay, though. Numbers should still be up here for Envy with 39 on now. Out goes the Meteor M from Kaluge. Does force out some cooldowns, but it is not enough, as we do see a Captain America rescue Hoffman as well. That's a ton of damage, and they do get Kaluge. Still now, Intergalactic is walking in a high-pressure situation. Can they find more?
Yeah, I mean, that one pick from Dongman's ult seemed to be enough. They're trying to close it out. 20 seconds left to go. You have the Mantis ult, you have Luna Snow ult, but we've seen it happen time and time again. Can they counter the It's Jeff from Nero? That is surely going to come once they group around Fidel and this dance floor.
Numbers even out. 4 seconds on. The touch comes through. Blur early on onto Speedery is a massive pick, but the res might be out there for Cal, who throws the C. Not sure the res is there. Looks like it is not. Here goes the It's Jeff finding one. Will this get value as Nero trying to find that off map here onto Flamay? Mid alt is absolutely huge, and it does work out. Down goes Flamay, and that is an alt and a pick. That is huge again for Envy. Dongman still holding that front line. Out goes the dance floor to counter up. We still have this Iwagamoto here for Dongman. Envy only having months ready with that invisible boundary. Will be very close to Kaluge too. Doomed doing some serious work with that Galactic Legend. Still not able to make that happen. Dongman holding onto the eye. Now it goes out. Does find a few and forces out Kaluge. And they are just holding on by the skin of their teeth now. It's looking dicey here for Intergalactic. Envy trying to shut this down now. Can they do so?
I mean, Hoffman, he's got the Ultron's Rage. Overtime ticks down. Chip. Portal going to come back from Dongman in a moment. Flamay, hard dove, but has the peel there.
This is an absolute battle. Everything on the line now. Portal will be coming through. Out goes the Rage of Ultron. This one just trying to buy some space, and it does. But will it be enough as Ultra coming back around? As Speedery now holding on here, ready for the dance of the butterfly. Out goes the Portal just to cut off some LOS there from the strategist. You use those portals to block the healing lines. It will help your team a ton. Blur going to commit here with the Freedom Charge. Hoffman going to find window. Is that enough now? Does that res come through? And there is another Sia, this time on the side of Cal once more, who has that ult again. Speedery on a Fidel, Kaluge on a Doom, and this is getting dicey once more. Dongman gonna find Month another trade, but Intergalactic down one, and this eat could be huge. It is. It finds two, and that could be enough time here as Nero gets Hoffman, Kaluge on a Blur, and Envy takes home the W.
What a series. What a match by Envy. An incredible match between Intergalactic and them. I mean, huge props to a team that is now out of the tournament, because that was one of the closest games we've seen at the very end, Shib. An incredible match between two phenomenal, Marvel Rivals rosters, and well-deserved MVP by Speedery, able to get it done in the very end. You know, there was so much peel from Intergalactic. Same thing from Envy. I mean, you saw how many times did Doomed go in with that ultimate and didn't find an elimination. It's because of the maneuverability of both Nero and Cal. Not going down to those ults is huge. Both going to 1 HP consistently and not finding anything. That was the way forward, and he didn't find those eliminations. Tough series for Intergalactic, as Envy qualify now for the playoffs and push on this lower bracket.
I mean, that was an insanely fun matchup to watch. I want to quickly show some love to Intergalactic. That looked really good into an incredibly strong team. An unfortunate bracket pull there to go against Envy in the lower side bracket, which, I don't think many would have assumed. Wow, just watching some of these blocks here by Dongman was just obscene. But I mean, again, like we're saying, Intergalactic, a great team, just going against a storied team that did manage to pull through and looked absolutely confident out there on that defense.
Yeah, I think that was some of the most mechanical pop-offs we've seen in a while too. Like Speedery hitting that Meteor M. It was in a loss obviously after they gave it the point, but the huge eats like you mentioned by Dongman. Doom coming through with massive ultimates most times. Also perfect positioning by the backline. That series really had it all. And there we go. There's the highlight with Speedery connecting on that flyer of all things. Hoffman too playing well on Ultron. I mean, that was impressive, but unfortunately impressive is not a win. And that means they are gone. Rest in peace, Intergalactic. Tough loss to definitely to take.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not the last we'll be seeing that team. They do a good job trying to stay together as much as they can, and they have a ton of talent, right? It's a team that can really push through if need be. Again, a tough bracket pull. So I have no doubt we'll have eyes on them more in the future. But yes, congrats to Envy, who take it home 2-0. And you know how we talk about stats, stats aren't everything to look at, but neither is a 2-0, because that was a tight match. I would say that Intergalactic looked really good, especially on domination, and even there on their defense, and the attack was strong on point 1. It was just more so they're struggling on point 2, which is a very defensible position.
Yeah, there was definitely cracks in Envy's armor at the current moment. I think that they have, I imagine, stuff they'll have to look at, but we're going to take a look at the MVP of that series and really of Team Envy in their future. It's going to be still relying on Speedery, right? I think this guy has been the most talked about North American player. Really, there's not really somebody talked about more than he is, and for very good reason. He's just so smart, knows exactly what to do on Psylocke a lot of the times, especially against these comps where honestly I would switch off Psylocke. Like, it feels rough to play against Triple Strategist all the time on this character, but he gets it done, also lives. That's the most important thing, because you're one of those targets that's going to be focused on, especially for Doomed, like we saw, having high casualty rate, but was able to rein it in eventually and close out on a great team in Intergalactic. So huge win for Envy, and that definitely boasts, I think, their motivation moving forward.
Yeah, and we saw, the more traditional composition. So that is very cool, as we are now going to be heading into our interview here. Welcome in to the side of Envy.
Hey, Window, what's going on, man? Congrats on the W, boss.
Thank you. How we doing?
Good, man. Doing
good.
Really good. That was awesome.
Yeah,
I got to show real quick the cap, right? 17 finals. That was wild. I quickly wanted to get your take, just from a Vanguard perspective, when cap and when Venom. Is it just when you run cap when they have some dangerous duelists, or what does it look like?
I mean, it's all situational, but Venom is like, if you have Luna, Mantis, you can get the damage boost on the Venom ult. Sometimes it's easier to get off than others. Like against Loki, they have lamps, so it can be harder to find that combo. So we went with the cap for that map, and it ended up paying off.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I know that your team, I think you specifically as well, like to talk about how you try to innovate, you try to change things up, right? You play the Jeff, before anybody else was playing him with that Venom team up and stuff, but now coming on into it, right, does it feel like that gap between like sort of understanding these sort of weird and interesting comps is gone, or do you think things like maybe switching over to that Rocket Raccoon, for example, is the way forward on these domination maps? Because it seems like Intergalactic's a good team, but you were able to sort of dial them in and figure them out as the series went on.
I think with how the meta evolved and how it is now, like dive characters are very relevant, and Rocket is honestly pretty hard to catch. So I think as time has gone on, people have found that Rocket is like more and more viable against like dive comps.
And soon to have that 40% damage boost too, so there's going to be even more potential for big plays, similar with that Venom, right? So we talk about Venom taking precedent there on when you have that boost. Now you have another source of a Luna damage boost, which is going to be nutty. But question again for you, we saw, and this is something I'm curious from a team perspective, Jeff obviously taking some serious stage presence nowadays. It's difficult to find a way to stop Jeff from making something happen. We saw the Psylocke play, and usually into triple Psylocke, from my understanding, it's tough to make big plays with Psylocke into triple strategist composition. Is that just trying to counter Jeff with ults, or how does that look for you guys? Is that something you've discussed as a team?
I mean, Jeff ult, it's not like it puts a pool on the ground, but it's not like too much healing, right? So the Psylocke, you can farm ult and you can tempo with her ult pretty well, and usually you end up out tempoing like the Tranks I have, but I think Jeff is very strong in the neutral in general.
Absolutely. And real quick, Window, we're going to have to close out here, but, a few things, just real quick on the overall macro, because I think Group A is arguably a really, really hard group. Do you have anything, obviously, last words, since we'll be able to interview you guys again, potentially? Do you have any last words maybe for Intergalactic on their side? Because they appear to be a good team, and one of those teams that maybe you're like, oh, should they be really be out of the tournament this early?
I mean, they put up a fight. I'll be honest, they put up a better fight than I thought. A lot of those guys are my old teammates, so it's always fun to play them. But GG's to them. They did a good job, but we did better.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And any last thoughts then, Window, before we let you go? Maybe shout outs or anything for your side, for Window the brand, or for Envy maybe as a unit, your team?
Shout out to, I mean, Envy, everyone at Envy, all my teammates and my family.